Are you happy?
Yes.
Okay, so what we want to cover. Yes, listen, I have explained my story a fair few times, documented it in a number of books. So I think you've got the picture that I had a bit of a drinking issue. I want to talk about that really because a lot of people think, well, you had a drinking issue, it must have been really bad. But I'll tell you now, even when I tried to control my drinking, I just understood that it wasn't good. It didn't allow me to be creative. I also didn't like the fact that it was full of chemicals that I had no idea what was in there. I mean, for God's sake, I won't even drink tap water. So, you know, I'm not going to drink chemicals full of rubbish and consume alcohols, you know, stuff I don't even know that's in there. So I'm quite fussy about that. But the fact of the matter was, for me, I do have an all or nothing attitude. And, you know, if I'm going to drink, I'm going to be the best drinker on this planet. If I'm not going to drink, then I'm not going to drink. And, you know, a lot of people get in touch with me sometimes and say, hey, are you still doing that non-drinking thing? Like it's, you know, like I'm doing it for, you know, taking a bit of time out of my drinking career. For me, I won't drink again. I've got no desire to drink again at all. And the clarity of this up here, I would not contaminate with anything anymore. So no, this is me. This is my modus operandi. But I also want to say with that as well, I'm not here to demonize drink. I was having an interesting conversation last night with a friend, quite a new friend, but yeah, he's a really nice guy. And he knew I was doing this Zoom, and he said to me, he said, look, I know what you're trying to do, but, you know, almost as if I was questioning him for his drinking habits. He just said, look, this is my life. You know, me coming down to the pub, that's my life, that's my family. I've got no family outside of this, really. And really, I took some time to think about that, and I thought, yeah, that's a fair one, you know. And I said to him, look, this is really for those people that sit there, put on a brave face, and then really, after drinking, go away and sit in a corner and think, I don't like what I'm doing. And that certainly was the case for me. I sat, when I wasn't in front of people, I sat there and I really didn't like the fact I was drinking. And I think for me as well, the fact it had such a control over me, which just made me feel so weak. I felt like a loser. It gave me no self-worth, or stripped away my self-worth. And for me, the best thing I ever did was to stop drinking. And like I say, look, if it's not a problem for you, then that's fine. You know, I just want you to be happy at the end of the day. That's the most important thing. But if you are that person that's starting to question what really is the point of this, you know, this is probably a good conversation for you. So I'm going to be having a good friend of mine join us tonight, and we're going to be talking about his story really, which I'll take you up to a certain point, but I'm going to let him lead the way from there. And it is I think it's a great story because, you know, we've met a lot of people on our journey, and we've tried to help a lot of people on our journey with BreakPoint. Some people have come and worked for us, and you know, we've come up against some sorts, you might say. Anyway, listen, it's been quite amazing that, you know, this is probably one person that I welcomed with open arms when he came back into our lives, because I knew something had changed. And that was amazing, because when he did work for us, he was absolutely brilliant. We loved working with him. He was an exceptional worker. He had some brilliant ideas, but we knew that he had some bad habits. And the thing for me is, because he's a few years younger than me, the thing for me was the fact that I could see myself in him. And I knew that I couldn't address it with him. I couldn't speak to him about it. I knew he had to go his own way. But for him to go his own way, we had to part company. And that happened quite abruptly and quite, yeah, it wasn't pretty at the time. So anyway, my story is, you know, I wouldn't say it's simple, it's been complex. But for me, as a lot of people may know, SAS 2 Days Wins 2016, I wanted to be the best version of me for that filming. And it was after that I mean, I'd taken 8 weeks off, then I did the filming. I think that was actually including the filming. So about 2 weeks prior, then all of the filming time away in Ecuador. And then it came to the party at the end. A lot of people know this story, but it came to the party at the end, and Foxy was like, come on, let's get on it, let's get smashed. And my autopilot, my habitual behavior would have normally thrown me straight into that, get absolutely smashed, and it would have been a totally different story. But for the first time in a long time, I didn't allow that to happen in that moment. And I breathed, I thought about it, I recalibrated, and then I delivered the action. And that action was, for the first time ever, to say, no, you know what, I'm not going to bother. I was feeling so good, I had so much clarity, and I just thought, why would I ruin that? Now, on my journey, I also thought I was missing out. So I went a few years without drinking, or a couple of years. And then I think it was, well, I don't think, I know, we were back away again in Chile. We were filming SAS, I can't remember what series, maybe 4. And I thought I was missing out. All the lads were getting on it. So I thought, yeah, I can control the drink now. So I went back on it. And that was the start of 8 months back on alcohol. And it got to the end of that 8 months, and I just thought, nothing's changing. Nothing's feeling it. Even controlling this, or trying to think I was, tell myself I was controlling it. Nothing had changed. So at that point, I just went, nah, that is it, never again. I think I really needed to do that. I needed to do that to get back into it. I'd just like to mention, anyone that does, we do have a lot of messages about people. I actually guide some people along their journey. First of all, they've got to want to do it. They've got to want to throw in the towel. But the thing is, I can't sit here and say to someone, you are going to have the best time, it's going to be absolutely brilliant. Because at the end of the day, you have to experience it to understand it and believe it. And no amount of words or this, that, and the other is going to convince you. The only way you can actually appreciate how good it is not to be a slave to alcohol is by actually doing it yourself. So anyway, we've got also tonight an announcement to make. So I'm really excited about that. There's a lot of work gone into it. And a lot of that, well, it actually wouldn't have happened, or wouldn't be happening, if it wasn't for my special guest tonight. So, yeah, that's brilliant. So we've got a great announcement as well at the end of that. Anyway, let's talk about the chap in question. Wait there, you stay there. Don't you? The chap in question, look, I'm not expecting you to sit there and think I've got some celebrity friend here, that you've seen on TV and stuff. So I'm sorry if you're looking for a celebrity to pop in. I don't really have that many celebrity friends outside of SAS. I haven't changed my my friends around me. I still have got the same friends and stuff. So I haven't got a big group of celebrity mates. So it's not a celebrity. He's a celebrity in my eyes, and always will be. But anyway, let me just tell you about Dean. He came to work for us back in the early days. We were doing a lot of events. Dean was absolutely brilliant at doing events for mud runs and stuff like that. Had a great amount of experience of putting on big events. So he was the perfect person to come in and work for us. And it was a great relationship. As soon as he came in, he had some great ideas, and we managed to offload so much of our workload to Dean because he just knew the stuff. It was easy to him, which gave us a lot more clarity and bandwidth to be able to create other stuff. But then we could see it was quite interesting because I knew he was having a drink, which is not a problem, but I knew the drink was getting the best of him, and other habits and everything else. And you could just see that, while he was with us, he was doing, working really hard and everything else. And then you would see how his Instagram would change at the weekends, and he would become a very different person. And you could just see what was happening. You could see what was happening in the shadows. Anyway, we had a good working relationship, and then it just came to a crunch point where we just had to part company. And really, that's where I'd like to bring Dean in to really talk about that story. So, Dean, come on over here, mate.
Yeah. Hello, everybody.
This is Dean. I know he looks like Ragnar Lothbrok off Vikings, but anyway, this is Dean. And I'd just like to really hand over to Dean, because I want him to explain his story. And the reason I want to do this is because I just want people to, there might be a lot of people out there that are really thinking that I can't change, I can never stop drinking. I'm talking, there's a lot of people that we get a lot of emails from people that just can't see the way out. So I really want to say that, I mean, I was one of those people because I was in a place, a very dark place. I never, in my wildest dreams, I never believed that I could stop drinking. I never believed that could ever happen. And Dean was exactly the same. So anyway, Dean, I want to, in your own words, and obviously, I just want you to tell your story in whatever context you want. But really, after you left us, because I know your time with us at BreakPoint was nothing compared to what you were about to go through. So really, anyway, this is Dean, and I'd like to share his story.
Yeah, no, hi everybody. Thank you for joining us. Yeah, no, when I first met you, really, I was on the downtrend.
Yeah.
Out of 10 being what you're going to hear about shortly, I was probably about 8 out of 10. I was gambling with my life. I was taking every opportunity that came my way, going all in, and hoping that it was going to come out the end, and my life would be better. And every time I'd done that, even before meeting you, I was losing good people around me. I was losing respect for myself, dignity. And after leaving you, I went on to exactly the same thing, rinse and repeat. That was relationships, other business opportunities, and it just got worse and worse and worse. And like you said, I did drink, and I used other substances as well. I was introduced to cocaine just kind of when I started working for you, and that got worse and worse and worse as these substances and drink does. You use them to numb the pain.
Yeah.
And the pain starts at a much younger age, much further, much earlier in your life. So I'm a bit nervous. This is the first time I've actually talked publicly about my journey. And the reason I didn't to begin with, because I wasn't ready. Well, you are initially, when you go sober initially, you're ready because you're sober and you see a bit of clarity and you think, I want to tell the world. But actually, I hurt a lot of people. I pushed a lot of people away, and I destroyed lots of people's lives. And I understood that quite early on, that it's not my time to talk until I've actually made my amends with them, and they've gained a bit of respect back, that I then have the right to talk out about it, which today I believe I've done so, to a certain point. So that's why this is the first time I really talked about it.
I think it was when was it actually? We were just discussing before, wasn't it? 2022. You've been sober how many months when you got back in touch with us?
3 months. So that's when I started to understand that you had to say sorry to people that you pushed away. And I reached out to you. I sent you an email, and you got straight back to me. And I reached out again about 9 months, and then that's when we kind of got in contact.
Yeah.
Contact after that then. But going back to leaving you, my life was just getting worse and worse and worse. And they say that you're a product of your surroundings. And I basically ended up being a day-to-day pub drinker. And I was just ended up being one of those guys pushing absolutely everybody away from me. And sorry, you continue talking.
No. It was that, and I can remember getting that email through, and it was like, and you didn't really expect to reply, did you?
No, not at all.
But the thing is, like we were saying to you before, that as soon as the email came through, I told Laura, she was like, "No shit," because I didn't ever expect an email from you for a start.
Yeah.
So, but then the bottom line was the fact that we did enjoy working with you, but we knew that there was this looming big brother that had control over you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So we knew that there was never going to be any relationship while that happened, especially me being on my journey and what happened with me. I just didn't have people around me that were just consumed by alcohol. Yeah. And I don't mean that because it was going to, I'd be so tempted to get back on it, because I'm not. And I haven't been since I stopped. But the fact of the matter was, I just knew that you're not going to get the best out of people. You know, and what this is one thing I'll say on this webinar. You've got to come in a bit, look, cameras. There's one thing I'll say on this webinar. I can guarantee you now that if you stop drinking, your life will be better. If you stop drinking, you will be a better partner. If you stop drinking, you'll be a better employee. Whatever it is, a business owner, whatever it is. Even if you're not drinking that much, you stop drinking, you make better choices. I found for me when I was drinking, as soon as I would have this quite disciplined and strict and everything was going well. But as soon as I had a drink, it wasn't just a drink, it just opened the gateway to so many other bad choices. And that's just as simple as like eating. I used to eat absolute shit, especially after night on the, drinking all night. I would then the next day, and it would just relationships, everything. It would just make me make so many bad choices. And that was, obviously you can relate to that.
I made lots of bad choices. You wake up the next day with the guilt, shame and remorse, and you just constantly in that headspace, and you just can't grow. You're not growing as a person, you're dying. And if I couldn't control the situation, it's a bit what happened with me and you. I would cause chaos, and I would run away. I'd run to the next thing, and I would cause everywhere I went. I caused chaos.
I think this is for me, right? And this is so true. You cannot change anything in your outside world until you change the energy of who you are. And this is where the programming is so messed up, because we are programmed to believe that everything is external. My happiness is external. My success is external. Everything. So I was exactly the same as you. And I would basically mess one situation up. And I thought by moving and changing my environment, me going somewhere else, doing something different, starting something new, it would change. And yet there's a small honeymoon period because you've changed your environment. But you're stuck, your baggage just follows you. It's like on a big, massive, long elastic band, and it slowly catches up with you. And before, very quickly, you are back to square one of doing exactly what you were doing over here. And this is where people get it wrong. Whether it's starting a business, doing whatever you want to do, you can never change anything in your outside world unless you change the energy of who you are. And I'd like to also say, while we're on that point as well, the survival mind, this is a blessing and a curse. We are all under the cosh of the survival mind, and survival mind is the strongest driving force in each and every person on this planet. The survival mind is addicted to repetition. It wants to do what it did yesterday and the day before, because as far as it's concerned, it's kept you alive until today. It doesn't care if it's a good situation or not, but it wants to keep you locked in that habit loop. It's like for me and you could easily turn around and say, well, I'm drinking too much, I'm just going to stop drinking. It's like, that's easy, isn't it? That sounds easy.
Sounds so easy.
It's so easy, but easy doesn't make it simple. And all your mind wants to do is keep you locked in that repeat habit loop. 95% of your behaviors are a repeat set of behaviors from the day before. That is absolute fact. 95% of your behaviors. So unless you take any kind of effort to change that and step outside of the program that you are, you will just be thrown back into it. So this is why me and you, I can totally relate to it. You would say, oh, I've had a few days off and I feel great. Right, I'm going to reward myself with a drink. And then that would turn into 4 days. 4 days on the lash. And then before you know it, at the back end of that, it's just horrible, isn't it?
So it's just you can't even explain it. But when you're drinking, you can't work on yourself. And I had some major insecurities. I was extremely jealous, really, really jealous. Didn't feel like I was good enough. And I always thought that money was going to bring happiness. And I just couldn't work on them until I started giving up, or until I gave up the drink. And I mean, it's happened with every partner, but I'll talk you through my current relationship, who I actually met before I went sober. I told her, or I sold her a person that I wanted to be, because I genuinely wanted to be that person, but I didn't know how. And so the type of guy that I sold her, that's who I wanted to be, but I just couldn't get there because of all these insecurities, all these defects of character that kept building up. And within about 6 months, the light was kind of flooded on me, and she realized that you're not that guy. And I tried to give up. We knew that drink was an issue, and I said, I'll try to give up, but I just I couldn't. I tried myself and I didn't know how. The first 30 days, Nicole, my partner, thought I was doing really well, but I was actually pouring proper beer into 0% and blagging it, because that's all I knew what I was doing.
So when she said, so if I could just interrupt that, so when she said, she shone the light on you and said, you're not the person that you say you are.
Yeah.
Do you mean that, would you not say that the person who you said you were was being blinded by the person you were when you drank alcohol? So really, if that was the person you wanted to be, but the thing is, the alcohol basically turned you into something else.
Oh, the alcohol.
So with the alcohol there, you were never going to be that person that you made out you were.
Yeah, I could be that person for a time,
Yeah.
maybe up to 2 weeks. But then once I had alcohol, because I couldn't cope with all these problems, that person couldn't cope with them. I'd use alcohol and everything else to numb that pain, and then chaos would happen.
Yeah.
And then the problems that I had last week are last week. So I've got even more problems. But I tried to give up and I just couldn't. And I thought, well, I'll try and drink once a month, just at a friend's house.
Yeah.
And then,
They never work. It
never works. And then it was just occasionally, maybe with a curry, would do that. It doesn't work. And I ended up going on benders. And that's when life kind of got really bad. I'd end up disappearing for 4 days at a time, and just rapidly going downhill. And why she stood next by me.
I was quite shocked when I heard that you had a girlfriend from the past.
I know.
Or a partner from the past.
Yeah.
Like, she must be an absolute legend. I've not met her, but she must be a legend.
She is. My friends think she's been made in a lab. But it just got worse. It doesn't get any better.
Yeah.
It just gets worse because I didn't know how to stop myself. I didn't know how to do it.
Yeah.
And it was absolute chaos to the point where I didn't want to be around anymore. I didn't want to be here. I didn't know how to operate. And once you start telling yourself something, it happens, and we know that positively and negatively. And I didn't want to be here because I didn't know how to be here, and I ended up hanging myself one night, and the belt snapped, luckily, and I woke up.
Thank God for that.
And you would have thought that would have been the moment of clarity for me, to think, right, now stop. But I didn't. I had a couple more benders after that, because I still didn't know how to stop. I was everything you wouldn't want a son to be.
Yeah.
Everything you wouldn't want your partner to be. I was that person. I just couldn't go on.
Yeah.
But on the 21st of December 2021, I just finished a 4-day bender, as in somebody's house. I don't smoke, but smoke. I remember that clear because I hated that. And I walked out the room and I said to myself, I don't want to do this anymore. And it was the 21st of December, so leading up to Christmas. And I remember Nicole saying to me, please don't ruin another Christmas. Because the Christmas before that, I ended up waking up in a police cell. And I was like, I can't ruin another one. And
how many times do you reckon you said, I can't do this anymore, before you actually took action to do something about it? Every time?
Every time. I didn't want to do it. And Nicole, I mean, we talked about this the other day, actually. I said, why did you stick by me? Because she said, I could see you wanted to stop. I could see that you wanted it, but you just didn't know how. So she said to me, you can come back for Christmas, but we're not together. You're my friend, and I will support you. And it was in between Christmas and New Year. I went to one of these meetings. There's meetings out there that you can go to. And I just didn't feel alone anymore. I heard some stories, and somebody told me a bit about their life, and it was exactly like how I'd been acting. And it was a moment of clarity. Yeah. And I continued going to these meetings, and within about 20 days of being sober, I just felt amazing. I felt like I wasn't alone anymore. I had this community around me, and they started to give me a few tools to help me with my triggers. They started teaching me about meditation and being grateful And I found somebody who got sober, and they taught me what they were taught. And because I didn't know how, I had to find somebody who'd done it. That's the only way. And whatever they did, I was like, I'm doing it. Whatever you tell me to do, I'm going to do it. And I did it. And you get to 90 days and 6 months. And to be honest, it took me a good year of sobriety to start to recognize my other character defects, so that I was jealous.
Well, you can actually get to the raw nerve, can't you?
Yeah.
Because you haven't got the smoke screen.
Yeah, and it takes time. It takes time. It takes a lot of pain, because when you don't use drink to numb the chaos in your nerves, all these emotions start to come back.
Yeah.
Because one thing what happened to me, like I said when we first started talking, I was gambling with my life. And when you get to the end of it, when I was in those woods, I was emotionally and spiritually bankrupt. That's worse than being financially bankrupt. Financially bankrupt, you can get money, you can lose, whatever. But having no emotions and not being on a spiritual path, which I'm on today, you can't deal with anything. There's nothing, no situation that you can deal with in a positive way. You just want to push it to one side and drown your sorrows. So it took me about a year really to start to feel these emotions and actually start to understand why I was feeling that way in the first place. And really, I was extremely insecure. I never felt like I fitted in. And I was very jealous. And I was jealous because I never thought I was going to be good enough. And it was only really 8 months ago that I accepted I was jealous. And that was the first thing. You have to accept that you've got a problem. And once you accept it, you can put action into it. And don't expect anything to happen straight away. You accept it and you try. And you're going to fail many, many times along the way. But eventually something will work and you'll have a better experience. So the next time it happens, you'll go from your last experience and it gets better. And today I can tell you, I'm not as jealous as I used to be, and life is and insecure. I've used meditation to combat those negative emotions. I let them in.
It's the only way you can deal with it. Meditation is the only way you can deal with it.
Yeah,
it's the only way you can change the subconscious programming is meditation. It's telling you now. And one thing, I'll tell you what, jealousy, it's like I used to be a jealous person and I thought that was gone. But then today I got extremely jealous because Dean actually stood up on the wakeboard that I bought that I can't stand up on behind the back of my boat today. So I was very jealous.
Did you not go in and go out?
Yeah, whatever.
But that's what I do. You have to let these emotions in.
Yeah.
And don't fight them. I always used to fight them. These emotions would come and I would take it on and I would lose.
Yeah.
And in the meantime, I would cause chaos.
Yeah.
But now I let these feelings come in, these words, whatever.
Yeah.
And they go out. And within an hour, something else has happened in my life and that's moved on. They might pop back up again, but I let them in. And
let them flow. You let them flow.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it causes blockage, and that's where it creates an issue.
Yeah.
And that's the thing is like being we are subject to our emotions. We are, and what we've got to avoid is being victims of our emotions. We have to be the emotional observer and not the victim of our emotions.
Exactly. Yeah.
Because if you can't control them, it's like fear, whatever it is. If you can't control them, you can't control them by turning your back on them. You can't control them by thinking you can fight them.
No.
It's all about flow, isn't it? You've got to let them flow
and let them out. And it sounds all very simple. It takes acceptance initially and time, and you've got to sit in the pain
and no alcohol
and zero alcohol. don't
or any other drug for that matter.
But all of this, I've got an amazing life today. Incredible life. I've got the best relationship. Oh, another thing as well. I want to add is if you've got any dark secrets, find somebody who you trust and talk to them about it. I've got some dark secrets, and I've spoken to a few people, and they didn't judge me. They don't think I'm no whatever, but I've got it off my chest. You don't have to go into detail, But it's amazing just to let the secrets off your chest, and that's really helped as well.
You don't need to rush off after this interview, do you? Do you want to stop for a cup of tea?
So and yet today my life it's incredible.
You've got a successful business, you've got an amazing relationship, your life is brilliant. I'm always happy every time I see you on social media.
I'm no longer searching for anything. I'm not searching for that next something that's going to make my life better.
Yeah,
I'm enough.
Yeah,
and that's I never thought I would achieve that feeling that maybe a lot of people haven't, or just lightness.
But I think this is, someone said to me a while ago, I'm going to have to just widen this camera out a bit. Someone said to me a while ago, that how do I get that feeling back from when I was a kid? When you're a kid and you jump out of bed and you spring out and you've got a zest for life, and that really for me is almost like when you stop drinking. You actually get your life back. I can remember when I first started SAS as well, and then we're doing stuff over social media, and I actually put on there about I'd stop drinking, and so I can always remember this comment that said, "You only live once," and I went back to that comment and said, "Exactly. You only live once. Why do you want to ruin it with drinking and this and the other?" So I just think really at the end of the day, we're not going to share the full story on here, but you've had an amazing journey, massive transformation. I'd like to ask you this, and that is, what would you say to anyone? I know we've got some people on this webinar. What would you say to anyone that sits there in fear of their life without alcohol?
Right.
So what kind of things do you think they'll be thinking about?
You're going to think that you're going to be boring because alcohol gives you confidence.
Helps you rent a personality.
Absolutely. You're just renting somebody that you're not. So initially, you're going to go through a process. You're going to think you're boring, and that's normal. I felt I was boring, but now I'm the most confident person I've ever been because I went through a process. So you think you're going to lose friends, you're going to gain people that you pushed away. They're the most important ones. The people that you think you're going to lose because you're not going to be drinking with them, they'll shove off and they'll come back, and you'll be able to sit down. I go down the pub on a Friday night. I enjoy a nice pint of Lucky Saint. I go to barbecues with my mates. They're drinking, and they've accepted me. And initially, you do have to kind of avoid those situations because of the temptation. But once you actually start to believe in yourself, and you know that it's the right thing for you, you can put yourself back in those situations. And if those friends are real friends, then they'll stick around. But you're going to gain back all those ones you pushed away, and they're probably the most important ones. They're the ones you want back in your life.
I think for me, it was like when I first stopped drinking, I was like looking, thinking, what the hell am I going to do? And I think it got to the first Friday night, my phone was going off. Like mental. Everyone going, oh, he said he stopped drinking, getting down the pub, phone was going off. And I was like sitting there thinking, what am I going to do? It's like, and then I realized very quickly how much of my life alcohol was consuming. And then shortly over, initially you're thinking, oh my God, I don't know what I'm going to do with my time. You know what I mean? But then you start to build really positive habits and behaviors in that time. And then before you know it, it doesn't take long for you to look back going,
why did I time to drink? How did I spend 2 hours down the pub every night?
No, exactly. It is just amazing. So
2 hours is
I'd just like to share something around that as well, because when those that know or read my books know that I also went off to Costa Rica on an ayahuasca retreat, which was the most amazing experience. And I actually went there knowing I'd stopped drinking. I knew that I didn't really have any problems, or so I thought. Anyway, I ended up going out there, and for me, I actually relived. I went back and met myself as a 10-year-old boy, and went through the whole trauma of the chimp attack and everything. Phenomenal experience. Anyway, I came out of one of the sessions, and I don't know what it was. I was just writing stuff like a maniac in my notebook, and there was like a couple of things that I've held from that session. There was a couple of things there, but first of all, just because you can say sorry doesn't give you an excuse to do it. Do you know what I mean? And this is what a lot of people do. They know they can say sorry, and so they do the action anyway, knowing it's going to hurt people, especially when you drink it. That's the drunk mind. The second one I came up with, which I love this one, and it means so much to me, is pain screams the loudest when it's dying. And what I mean by that is that is a really good one for a lot of things, but definitely when it comes to drink, because when you're giving up the drink and stuff like that, it's trying to claw you back in. You know, it's trying to take you back to the known. The survival mind is absolutely so fearful of uncharted territory. It wants what's familiar, and especially when it's drinking everything, it wants to keep clawing you back in. And you know, it's so easy. It's like a really bad relationship. The easiest thing to do is put a band-aid over it, or in this case, is to have another drink and just shut up. But at that point, it's about really just burning your ships and making your way for the shore, isn't it? And then before you know it, that pain screams the loudest when it's dying, means that's dying, but it's the birth of something new. But we being humans, we tend to always focus on the thing that's going to cause us danger. So we focused on the old instead of the birth of something new, which is uncharted territory, which is hard for the brain to accept. It's really hard for that to really latch on to. Embracing something new is the unknown. So really for me, it's like anyone out there that thinks they can't give up, if it's a real problem for them, or they just like to give up, you know, at the end of the day, it can be done. And listen, if I can say it and Dean can say it, anyone out there can do it. I kid you not. I think really for me, I did this thing, and the people that have read Battle Ready, I've talked about it before. I did a thing, and it was called the Purpose Pyramid. And that was basically a pyramid, and you ask yourself 3 questions. So for the subject matter, it could be anything that's consuming a lot of your time that you're not really, you know, that you're questioning. And that for me was alcohol in the middle of that triangle. I asked myself 3 questions. Do I enjoy it? Does it add value? And then the third question, does it help others? How many of those could you tick?
Not now.
No, back then when you were drinking, none.
No.
I mean, if you can't tick, if there's crosses next to each of those questions, ask yourself, why is it in my life? Why is this consuming my time? So anyway, that was a really, really good tool for me to be able to put it in there, because we can do that with everything in our life. You know, a load of things, but you know, why am I doing it if it's not really adding any value or purpose to my life? So, but anyway, listen, bloody hell, that's time already. So listen, I think you've had an amazing amount of courage to do what you've done, because I've been there as well. I know yours was quite severe, more severe than mine. I mean, I didn't end up with a belt around my neck, but I mean, I had the suicidal thoughts and stuff like that.
Get there eventually. It's only a matter of time.
It's only a matter of time. Yeah. Luckily for me, as soon as I started having those thoughts far too often, and I thought I need to do something about that. That was my wake up call. So anyway, Dean got in touch with me, like I said, back in it's about February 2022, and then you came and did an event when we were still doing sort of face-to-face events with the public. I think, did you do a corporate event with us?
Yeah, I did a corporate.
You did a corporate event with us. And then we talked about getting back together, getting in the event space and starting to do some stuff together. And then you came up with an idea.
Yeah, we mulled it over for quite a few months, and we came up with an idea that we want to do something that we're passionate about, and that's sobriety. And we came up with an idea that we want to do at the end of January. So we're going to collab it with we're going to make it the end of Jan. Oh, I'm nervous again. As soon as you put a camera in front of somebody.
It's not usually like this. Take the camera away is a right pain in the arse.
So we wanted to do something at the end of Jan where people could do dry January and come together at the end of the event and do a 10K run. And then we actually realized that there's a thing called Dry January. It's trademarked from Alcohol Change UK, which is a charity who we spoke to, and we've now collaborated with them, and we're putting on the first Dry January 10K. But it's not all about the event itself. It's about the lead up to the event and the community that we're going to build leading up to that. And that's starting from now. So actually the event is going to be open as soon as we end this.
Yeah, as soon as we end this. So basically that is the event. This is the event that we would love you all to sign up to, because we are going to get some massive traction on that. And that is basically, we know that how many million people signed up for Dry Jan this year?
180,000 people signed up and subscribed to their app this year.
To the app, but I think Dry Jan in general.
In general,
there was millions.
Yeah,
there was millions this year, more than ever, and it's growing and growing and growing. So basically, that is what we're doing this year. We've actually collaborated with Alcohol Change, and we are doing an event for the end of Jan. So instead of everyone doing Dry Jan, we are giving you something, a big goal at the end to go for. And we've got a 10K race at the beautiful Pippinford Park in East Sussex, which is the birthplace of BreakPoint, as some people know. It's also where we met.
Yeah, it was.
And well, you were running events there as well, weren't you? So Dean was running big OCR races there. So we'll be doing the event there. But this is not just about that event at the end of January. It is about the journey leading up. We're going to mentor people to do this. And the reason we want to do this is not because we're going to say, you need to stop drinking. Not only should you give your body a rest from alcohol, but really, I want you to ask yourself this question. Because a lot of people, the first two, when you say, I don't drink anymore, the first thing they say is, well, I don't drink that much. I never asked.
Yeah.
I wasn't asking. But the thing is, ask yourself that question. Are you dependent on a substance? Are you dependent on alcohol? Ask yourself that question. Could you, if the answer is no to that, could you go without it? You could clearly go without it if you're not dependent on alcohol. So really, this is a chance not only to give your body a rest, this is a chance for you to actually prove to yourself that you are in control and not some substance that's controlling you. And who knows, there could be a lot of people, or there will be a lot of people by the end of January that will want to carry on that journey. And we're going to be there to help people do exactly that. This for us is the start of a series of events. This is just the first one. So really, it's about bringing this community together. It's about getting everyone together so we can all have an amazing event, have an amazing January together. I'm going to find it quite easy. Don't know about you, Dean. I've been doing it for the last how many years? I can't remember. But but we will. Are you doing the race? Of course. Me and Dean are actually running as well. So we're going to get our training shoes on in the lead up. But really, we are going to start gathering momentum on this. We've got some big names as well that are also signing up that are going to support this journey. We've got some amazing sponsors. We've got some amazing sponsors, and we are going to raise a lot of cash.
That's what it's all about. It's about fundraising for Alcohol Change UK, who make a huge difference in that industry, letting people recognise the negatives about alcohol.
Can you mention some of the sponsors?
We're going to announce them when we do the launch officially.
Okay. Yeah. And the event itself, so we do the 10K race, Pippinford Park.
Yeah.
Is that it? Everyone goes home afterwards?
That's not it. Well, it starts as soon as you sign up. Like you said, we're going to have podcasts. You're going to be doing podcasts with quite a few people that you do know about their journey without alcohol, or they may have just given up and taken a bit of a break and recognise clarity. But the main part is from the 1st of Jan to the events on the 28th of Jan. Every week we're going to have kind of open meetings like this and guiding you and mentoring you through that process and making sure that you didn't struggle the way I struggled beforehand and you struggled as well, without having a community around you. Because I know if I would have had a community the first time round, I may not have got to where I got to. Yeah. So this is going to.
No, and you're a strong believer that having that mentor.
Oh, absolutely.
Was absolutely.
Yeah.
Is that a hornet?
Yes.
So we've got a hornet's nest.
Yes, I definitely believe that the way that I managed to get through it was finding somebody else who got through it and asking them to mentor me through the process until I felt comfortable to be out there by myself.
So anyone that is struggling out there, we are going to be your mentors. We are going to help you through that journey. And like I say, a month of sobriety will be the kickstart you need to see the benefit of the clarity of the mind and every other benefit that you get from not drinking. So one thing I'll say, that the reason we're starting this now is because a lot of people fail because they just do it on without any kind of thought, and they say, right, from the 1st of Jan I'm stopping drinking, maybe a few days before or whatever. And that really, there's two things here. Like, you can't change things there's two things. There's a decision and there's a date. Okay. When you make a date, you will not complete. Okay. A date is external. When you make a decision, it's taken some thought and you're doing it for a reason, and that is internal. So a decision is internal. When you just set a date randomly and think, I'm just going to start on the 1st of Jan, you've got a high chance of just failing because you've not made that internal decision what you want to do. So really, we are giving you the lead up from now all the way to the start of Jan, and then to the end, from Jan the 1st, the event's on the 28th. So some people, we're going to have to give a nudge to make sure they do the full 31 days. But we're going to be there. There's going to be an amazing event at Pippinford Park. And we are going to have we're going to be there. There's going to be a big setup. We're going to have some talks at the end. The sponsors are going to be there. It's going to be brilliant, isn't it? It's not just going to be turn up, race, and then go home. It's going to be a massive community.
And it's the start. And in fact, our start line is going to be the finish line. The finish line is going to be the start to a new journey for you. And so this event is literally just the starting point for hopefully a new journey. And when, like you said before, we're not banging on about everybody goes sober, because a lot of you can drink and responsibly. It's about giving yourself a bit of a break and maybe seeing some health benefits from it and just slowing it down.
Yeah. So anyway, listen, the links are Laura's given me that. I think that means she's going to type.
I've already typed.
So she's already typed. So basically, the link has gone out there. It's in the chat. Please have a look at the link. Go through and have a look. Please sign up for this.
We're going to be launching a Facebook community group as well, which you can only access if you sign up to this. Within that community, we'll be helping you. Any questions that you have, you put them in there and we'll guide you through. So if you are struggling, or you know somebody that is struggling, join that community and we'll do what we can to share our experience with you.
Yeah, so there'll be training programs, everything. There'll be so much motivation from now until the end of Jan that it will be, you'll do this a lot easier than just trying to do it on your own.
You can't do it by yourself.
Yeah, you can't do it by yourself. So anyway, that's it, guys. The event link is up. It's just being launched. Is it launched today, Laura?
The page is live now.
The page is live.
Live, but
Just been told.
We're recording video for tomorrow.
And we're recording.
We're doing more things.
Sign language.
Can we just do a couple of questions?
Yeah, we've actually got a question here, which I'd like to.
Yeah, we went over it. It was more somebody wrote in an email asking that or saying that they might feel boring and they're going to lose friends, and I think I touched on that. So
Laura, have you got any other
Yeah,
questions?
there's one more I want to cover.
Yeah.
It's so good. In fact, do you want me to read that one out first, or do you want to do that one?
No, we've covered this.
covered this
Oh,
one.
we've covered this one. Yeah. So the one I just want to read out was someone, I'm just going to find it, but it was basically someone asking about partners and how do you deal with a partner that's drinking when you're trying to be sober and you're trying to stop. I know we spoke about it earlier, weren't we?
Yeah, it's so if you've got a partner has a problem, it's difficult. My way is, well, the way that worked for me from my partner's point of view towards me was tough love. She kicked me out and told me that you need to go and get yourself better, and I'll always be here for you when you do. And it was the only way that I actually got my act together was when she booted me out, because I wanted her back and I'd do anything to get her back. So I got sober to get her back, and that wasn't so. But there are other people in other situations as well. You might have family. It might be if it's your child. My mum gave me tough love. That worked. She was there but not there, and that's what worked for me personally. It was a bit of tough truth.
That is good in that situation when your partner doesn't drink. But I think the question there is when you've got someone that really likes to drink. One thing I'll say about this, right? First of all, if you've got that person who is your partner that loves you and everything else, it really takes you to sit them down and say, look, this is what I want to do, and this is how it's making me feel.
Yeah.
You know, so I need your support through this time. And I think really, I mean, that needs to be an open and honest conversation between two people. And really, if that person's not prepared to support you after having that conversation, then there's more issues than drink going on.
Yeah, definitely.
So really, I think sometimes when that happens, I think, you know, you just have to be honest to say, look, I am on this path. I want you to respect me. I want you to appreciate what I want to do. I'm doing it for me and I'm doing it for us.
Yeah.
I'd probably like you to try and get them to go on the journey as well. You know, and it's hard, like trying to give an answer because I know there's so many different scenarios where that it's just not an option to be able to do that, and it is a tough one. I mean, it was made easy for me because Laura didn't really drink, to be honest. You know, she could have a drink from time to time. It was never an issue, but because I stopped, Laura said, well, I'm going to stop as well, which was brilliant. And I think it'd be a lot different. I know it'd be a lot different if that wasn't the case and Laura was getting smashed, you know, on a regular basis. But and
these are all questions that can be part of the community. And if we don't have the answers, we can ask other people who've been through that experience.
Well, that's the beauty of the community, isn't it? So yeah, there will be a full support group. The thing is as well, listen, don't try and force the answers. Don't try and force the answers. Just commit to this and try as hard as you can to God, they're attacking. That one's got a drill. I think, you know, it's instead of trying to think, and this is what the mind does, it looks for every kind of problem and everything that could go wrong. And really, it's just about try and breathe and live through the moment, each moment. And I've talked about this before in books and everything else. When all around you is falling apart, we break everything back to 1 meter square. And, you know, one thing I'll say, if you've got a lot of problems, a lot of questions, write down all the things that are causing you that anxiety on a piece of paper. Cross off all the things you can't control and focus on the things you can, because it's not worth your energy focusing on the stuff you cannot control. You know, our brains can only handle 5 to 9 bits of information at any one time. When we're stressed, that goes down to 1 to 2. And really, let's focus on the 1 to 2 things. But really, you know, it's like a lot of people, and I'd like to say that about drink as well, because it's been sold as stress relief, isn't it? But there's nothing, and it might give you a bit of stress relief in the short term, but it actually creates a monster at the back end, doesn't it? So really, if you use drink as a stress relief, don't be fooled by it, because it's not. Liz, hello, Liz. How are you? Hold on, let me just take you off mute.
Hello, boys. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. How you doing, Liz?
Hi, guys. I'm doing very well. Lovely to see you. And hi, Laura. Can I just say I'm just so impressed, Dean and Ollie, you being males and being able to talk about emotions, because I work in rehab, and the biggest thing for males is they've been brought not to speak about emotions. And also what you're talking about, we can't talk about here at the moment, is trauma. And a lot of stuff of drinking and drugs is through childhood trauma. So I'm delighted that, and I just think you need to be role models for the younger males to be able to speak about emotions and things that they need to really speak about. And women need to allow men to talk as well. But my question, something you said, Dean, I'm delighted that you're alive, but I think someone saved you. That's why the belt broke. I don't believe things happen for reasons. Someone was looking after you, mate. But I want to ask you both, because some people don't get addicted to things. Do you think it's nature or nurture? Why do you think you both had an addiction?
For me, let me just, if I could just answer first. For me, Liz, I honestly believe, and I've heard this as well from other sources, that I started drinking to, you know, I don't believe people have got a drinking problem. They've got a problem that's causing them to drink. And that can start as simple as, you know, when you're a kid and you are, you know, you're so fearful of confrontation or fearful of like social situations or whatever, or intimacy or anything like that. And you start, that's when you start to find that as the easy solution. So you start drinking them because that is the solution to anxiety. It's the solution to, you know, that kind of pressure of you know, meeting a girl for the first time, you know, even you know, like I said, intimacy for the first time. You know,
It's a crutch. Yeah.
it's a crutch. You know what I mean? So that's how it starts. And then before you know it, you're using it for every situation. And before you know it, their drinking becomes a much bigger problem than the emotional issue. But it all starts because of your emotions, I believe. And I think, I mean, then on top of that, you've got the societal programming that really, you know, it's almost like a natural thing. You know, it's like when you say, it's getting a bit different nowadays, but when you say I don't drink, it's like you're looked at like, what, you just stop for a couple? No, I don't drink.
Yeah.
And it's like, you know, it's like, it's just like, such a stigma that everyone it's just the default setting to drink. It's just a normal thing, and it's not. I mean, I'm not, like I said, we're not demonizing drink. If some people, like the guy I was talking about before, he, you know, he goes down the pub, that's such a social connection for him because he hasn't got a family back home. And I do believe, you know, if he took that away, that would be a massive negative for him.
Yeah.
But, you know, it's really, you know, if some people sit there in the corner and you know, when they're on their own and they're not happy, you know, and you are your own, you know, when it comes to mental health and stuff, I'll say this, you are your own barometer. And if you are, you don't, listen, the military don't own PTSD. You don't have to have you don't have to been attacked by a crazy chimpanzee at the circus to have PTSD. You know, it's relative to every person.
Mm-hmm.
So really, you know, if you are suffering in silence, the last thing that you want to do is, well, it's for those people that really want to find a solution. And it's for those people that are sitting there in suffering when there's a solution, and we just want to help as many people as possible. And we know how hard it is, but we also know how destructive it is. And there's a lot of people that never get their life back.
Yeah.
I know, I work with them. Yeah.
Yeah.
So well done, you. You both have got through something that is so traumatic and difficult to get through. So, you know, all strength to you, and hopefully you pass it on to other folks. It's a great thing, guys. Thank you so much.
Liz, let me ask you a question.
Sure.
How do you disengage from all that sort of? You must see a lot of negative things and, you know, stories.
Sure.
How do you?
Absolutely. I've cut people down from hanging and things. Because I'm both my grandparents, the Scottish and the Polish side, were alcoholics. So I learned from a really young age how to survive myself in lots of ways. I then went and studied addictions and such. So I thought I can work this out. So how can I help other folks? And how it's always meditation and it's always fitness. It's the only two things that's ever worked for me. I'm a natural talker anyway, so I can work things out quite well. And finding that community of folks, because there's a lot of privacy and confidentiality in my work. So there's only certain people, even that I work with, who I think are quite switched on, that I can then go to and speak to. So it's like yourselves, you've got to find your own kindred spirit, but you've also got to be a hell of a resilient human being to work, because I'm working with folks who are really on the edge, who are the dark forces taking them over. So when someone comes in and they're on what they call the rattle, you know, so you've got 3-5 days of detox, you are just keeping them alive. And once you get them through that, I always target the men, because the men will finally open up to me. And once I know I'm on the way of helping someone, that also helps me kind of detach from a lot of things.
I was actually going to say that, Liz. You must take some
great pride.
You know, if you're hanging on to the fact, well, I'm changing lives here. You know, regardless of what I'm having to go through, I'm changing lives here, which is very rewarding.
It's always worth it.
Yeah,
you can help one person. It's always worth it, Ollie.
Yeah,
always worth it.
And great to see you as well.
Yeah, you too, boys. It's really good.
It's been a while. It's been a while.
It's too long.
All right, thanks, Liz. Take care.
You too.
William, have you got a question?
Ollie, it's Billy.
Billy, I knew, you know what? I knew it was you. How you doing? I was just waiting for the American accent to confirm it.
No, I was just going to ask you, you know, it's funny. I was going to ask you, just before you started on this, you said, never in a million years did you think you could quit drinking, or what you say you would stop drinking. And I thought that kind of funny, because, like, you know, a famous actor like yourself, you know, all the stuff that you did in the service. I thought that was pretty, I don't know, humbling. Like, you look how far you've come. Did you ever think you could be like this far along when you did
No,
say that?
you know what?
yourself?
You know what, Bill? I never
Like not a shot in hell.
No, listen, I mean, I got to the point where I was, and I just thought, and this is the thing for me was, this is the turning point for me, and I call it my greatest battle, but also my greatest discovery. And that is when I sat in that space. I'd gone on a massive bender, and it was when I actually came. I was living in Australia, went on a massive bender, and then I was sat in that space, and I knew I started having suicidal thoughts. And for me, I heard this little voice say, "Ollie, it doesn't end like this." I knew there was something bigger for me. Or no matter, although it was so dark, I knew there was something else there for me. I didn't know what it was. And at that point, I actually, for the first time in my life, took responsibility for where I was. And this is the thing that I reflect on, is the fact that as human beings and the way that we're programmed, and I've mentioned it before, that we're always blaming everything external. And that for me, so I'm blaming my environment, I'm blaming the chimp, I'm blaming the military, I'm blaming whatever I was blaming, I'm blaming everything outside of me. And for the first time ever, I took responsibility. I took responsibility for where I was. You forget everything that's happened to me. Everyone has their, situations and issues of things that happen. I was still there because of the choices I made. And for me, at that point, that's why it changed so much, because I then started thinking that the more we focus on anything, the bigger it becomes. And I'd been caught in this pattern of hating everything, including myself, me more than anything. And basically, that was just bringing me more of the same. So I sat there, and I know there's always a yin and yang of life. And this is another thing I'll say to anyone that's not in a great place, there is an opposite. There is a mirror to where you are right now, and it's a totally different realm. So if you're feeling quite negative, there's a positive version of that waiting for you. And the big thing for me was the fact, the first time ever, when I started, I took responsibility for where I was totally honest with where I was. And then I started to focus on the person I wanted to be, what that person looked like, what it represented. And then I added emotion to that person. And that's the one thing that pulled me out of there. And for me, in a very short period of time, and cutting out the drink, I couldn't control it still back then, but being aware of it is your first biggest step anyway. I then realized for the first time in my life that we are not a leopard that never changes his spots. We can change, we can be whoever we want to be. But the thing is, the majority of people out there, and I was one of them, since I was 14 years old, I was drinking. And, I drank all the way. I ruined my military career. I ruined my military career through drinking. And that caused a lot of other issues in every other parts of my life. And really, I went through hell, through my young years, up and, just through drinking and this whirlwind of absolute mayhem. So, it was a long time coming in. Really, I'm so happy that I crashed and burned in that space, because if I'd have just been carrying on, not getting to that, I needed to crash and burn so that I could rise again. And it was so important that happened for me. And that's why my greatest battle, but my greatest discovery. So, yeah.
Thanks for being so truthful and honest.
Always, mate. It's the only way. It is the only way. Thanks anyway, mate. Okay, who have we got? We've got last question, Liam.
Yeah, Ollie, this is a question for you. So would you say that you stopped your drinking when it became objectionable to you? So when it didn't sit right with you, did you think enough's enough? I'm gonna sort this out?
I did, but it took a long time after I'd made that first decision. I was battling and battling and battling for years before I actually really did something about it. And that for me, it's like I didn't drink to go and enjoy myself. I drank to get drunk. And then I would, when I was in Iraq, I was drinking, whenever the tools went down, I would go back into my room. Everyone would drink, but I drank more than everyone else, I'm sure. and I used to drink every night. And I used to knock myself out, and I used to sleep with a pistol under my pillow. And that for me, I was just in a world of hurt. So really, from the first time he's saying that, Liam, to it took a long time before I actually did anything about it.
Because that was kind of my experience, is that I always knew that I had a problem, but didn't know what to do about it. And, you know, I could relate to what Dean was saying about them resolutions that would make and say, look, we're not going to do it again. I'm going to change, and we'd just carry on doing it. You know, I'm 13 months clean, and well, that's just somebody, some hope in this group and that. And you know what, I've had the privilege of being on the journey with Dean, and I'm the guy that guided him. You know, and this is the amazing thing about recovery. But yeah, well done, lads, and hopefully I might see you at the 10K run.
Yeah, lovely, mate. Well done, and thank you for pulling Dean back. So
cheers, mate.
Cheers, buddy.
Can I just ask one last?
Okay. We have got. Sorry, Laura wants to ask a question.
There's one from Claire. Should we do one more?
Yeah, we'll do one more from Claire.
Wrap it up with one.
Okay, Claire. Hold on. I'm going to get you off mute. There you go.
Hi, Dean. Blast from the past. How are you? Great to see you. You look so well. I feel super chuffed to see how well you look. I haven't got a question. I just wanted to kind of add my 10 pence worth. I'm also coming up to 12 months sober. My husband and I stopped drinking on the same day, which has been awesome, total game changer. And I just wanted to add a little comment to your thing you were talking about earlier with worrying about being boring and worrying about judgment. And I've kind of really put a different spin on that. And I've realised when I'm out and people start a conversation about me not drinking and ask all the questions, and as you said, Ollie, they start telling you about how much they drank or drink, even if you haven't asked them. I've really realised that actually I think what they feel is jealousy. So whatever they say to you, whatever feedback you get, whatever perceived judgment they're making, actually underneath all that is just people thinking, Jesus, I wish I could do that, and I wish I could feel as good as you feel. I just wanted to add that in because I think that's really important.
You're so right,
on,
Claire.
sorry.
No, you're so right, Claire. And a lot of people, they just, when you say that you don't drink, they question themselves, don't they? And it's like that question and wishing they could, you know, and that's so right. They just wish they could do what you deep inside, regardless of the smile and everything else. They're the ones that go back afterwards and start saying, what is the point? What is the point of what I'm doing? You know, so many people out there want to stop, but they just don't see that there's any way to do it.
Yeah, they just can't see how you can go out, how you can have fun. I was at a wedding till 2 a.m. last night and actually had a full-blown conversation at about 1:30 a.m. with some people, and they were like, oh my God, I just can't imagine what it's like. And they were lovely, but you know, as you know, you get a lot of people make you feel a bit judged, but I've just seen past that. And I think the more positive you can be in the way you present sobriety, it kind of spreads. And as you said, Dean, it's all about, I had the same thing. I saw someone else get sober and realised actually it really can work. It can be awesome. And so, yeah, well done, Dean. It's great to see you looking so well.
Thank you. Thanks very much, Claire.
Bye.
See ya. Bye.
I'll just wrap it up with this one. Who should you give up drinking for? Wife, kids, or yourself?
Right, I can answer this one. Who should you give up drinking for? Wife, kids, or yourself? Initially, you don't want to lose the people around you, so you do it for the people around you. You quickly realize that you need to do it for yourself, because if you start doing it for people around you and you have a fall, they'll start to get resentful against you. But if you start doing it for yourself and you start loving yourself, they won't be able to have that resentment towards you. So you have to do it for you, but initially, whatever it takes, make that first step and accept you have a problem and get going. Don't think too much about it. Don't think too much into, but eventually you will do it for you and you'll start to love you again. And all those people will come back.
Yeah, exactly. And you know, that I think that's such a good thing you say, because it doesn't matter what gets you started.
No, it
You know,
doesn't.
if
It
it
doesn't.
takes guilt to get you started, if
Exactly.
it takes someone else saying to you, you are ruining my life through your
Yeah.
actions, then good. If it makes you take that action, because at the end of the day, you know, I say this with everyone, regardless of whether it's drink or not, you are the most important project there is. Not your wife, not your husband, not your kids, you. And the more you invest in yourself and build that ground structure, so you've got a root system that is strong, that can weather any storm, you are a better asset to everyone around you, your wife, your kids, everyone. So really, I know it's, and I've said this time and time again, but it's a bit of a cliche, but you're on a plane and the announcement is, in an emergency, make sure you put on your own mask before helping anyone else. And it's such a good analogy, because you can't help other people unless you help yourself first.
Yeah.
There's a lot of broken people break people.
Yeah.
Don't they? Don't they?
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
you know, that's a really strong ending question, I think, as well. Look, I want to say a big thank you to those that haven't joined us but are on the recording. I hope this gives everyone all they need to just come and join us for Dry Jan, whether you've got a problem with drink, whether you haven't got a problem at all, even if you don't drink, join us for Dry Jan, and let's raise some money. Let's build an amazing community, and then have an amazing event down at Pippinford Park on the 28th of January 2024. Let's get going. Let's grow. All right, take care. Thank you, everyone, and we'll see you all soon. Thanks a lot. Bye.
Cheers. Bye.